So next up, we're going to be talking about the Nervii. The Nervii are slightly different from the Arverni, but they do have some similarities. So basically, the Nervii are a hard-hitting but anticlimactic faction. They sacrifice some defensive powers to be more offensive, and it works well for them to a certain extent. The bigger difference between the Nervii and other, the biggest difference between the Nervii and other Gallic factions is the fact that they have partial Germanic ferocity in them. They also have a pretty good Germanic unit, which are the Spear Brothers, and a mercenary Germanic unit, the Germanic Scout Cavalry. The Nervi's core unit has more melee attack than any other Gallic unit, but does not have the same armor, meaning you'll have to do enough damage initially to tip the balance in your favor. They also have Gallic Hunters, which helps provoke an enemy into attacking you. They are also very useful for doing prior damage before an engagement. The Nervi's weakness is the same as the Arverni's, except it is more extreme. The Nervii must get a decisive charge, or else they will lose in the middle of combat. The core unit dies faster than the Arverni's, and although they do have a guerrilla melee unit, this unit lacks more armor, although it does have more melee defense, making it useful for flanking and hitting rears rather than frontal engagements. Do not be misled if you are winning a fight early on, because a lot of factors can take battles from you. If a unit has formation attack on, they will survive the charge longer, meaning that it is possible for said unit to make a comeback later on. If your opponent has archers, they will hurt most of your units before, during, and after combat. To summarize, try to use the faction's great charge, great weapon damage to full extent, whether it be by using frenzy before charge or by suiciding a cavalry unit to focus an enemy's precursors on to it, so your melee units can charge in without taking precursor damage, although they can still get countercharged. Just be careful of that. Don't charge from a far distance. Get into about 60 to 75 meters, which is about half the range of a 150 range unit like Gallic Hunters, of your enemy before making the attempt, as anything farther than that will most likely hurt you. When I say hurt you, I mean like tire you faster. I'd recommend playing as these guys after winning a few battles as the Arverni. The Nervii, in my opinion, beat the Arvaci, but they lose to Pontus. Now, let's look at the roster of the Nervii. Your general's units are pretty much the same as the Arverni's. Most people use an Oathsworn general. So what can you expect your melee army to look like? Again, your core unit is the Fierce Swords, which have good melee attack, the best melee attack out of any Gallic faction's core units. 37 charge bonus, which is another high. It's very similar to the Germans, and you'll find that out next stream. Guerrilla swordsmen have less armor but better melee defense. Their use is very questionable. However, they do have good stats, and using them in an ambush way can be very prudent. Spear-wise, you have Levy Freemen, but you also have Spear Brothers who are heavy but move as quickly as light units. So they and Levy Freemen move at the same speed, which is very interesting. Then you have the Naked Spears, who have 25 bonus versus large, 30 melee attack, and 22 weapon damage. Not a unit that you'd want to use against infantry, but they do have a good charge bonus. They're best used in supporting engagements. When it comes to skirmishers, same skirmishers as the Arverni. Melee cavalry wise, Mighty Horse is not like Heavy Horse. It is not very heavy, but they are very good at charging, and so you might want to use them frontally if you feel that you can't beat another faction just with your infantry charge alone. For Missile Cav, you have the Mercenary Germanic Scout Cav, who have fairly good melee stats. Not the best, but fairly good. Yeah, your core is still fierce swords. You may want to bring naked warriors, you may want to bring Celtic warriors. Bringing naked warriors can or cannot be useful. Their only use is the fact that they cost 110 talents less than fierce swords. That's about it. Even though they have a bonus versus infantry, this doesn't go too well for them against certain factions, whereas it can go well for them with the fierce swords because the fierce swords have access to shield wall. You may want to bring spear brothers, I do. You may also want to bring levy freemen, I do that too. Most of the times you won't want to bring both, and so it's up to you how you want to do it. For cavalry, usually mighty horse do the job, but if you're feeling lucky or good, you might want to put some noble horses. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the Nervii, and I'm going to take another minute 30 break to jump right into the boy eye.